Hey guys, welcome to another time-lapse vlog. And I just want to say thanks for all the messages that you guys sent me after we uploaded that one. I wasn't expecting it to get that kind of reaction, so we're doing another one. And the topic that I picked relates a lot to this video, actually. I got a message from someone who was asking, how could you feel a bit more secure about your work? Because most of the time, you end up overthinking. And, how do you live with work that you've done? How could you be a bit more secure about that? So I, thought about that. I had a bunch of questions that you guys sent, and honestly, as I was working my way up to make the second vlog, there were a couple of topics I was going to cover, and I started recording and I started trying out different things, and then I would just delete it straight away. I started to get a bit worried that maybe what I'm doing is not good, and it caused me to rethink what I was doing. And I came back and looked at the topics and I said, you know what? This actually really relates to what I'm going through right now, so maybe this should be the topic of this vlog, about how to feel a bit more secure about your work. So halfway through this video, I sort of kind of gave up, but then I came back, and I'll talk about that later. But I want to explain to you what I was going through, and just one thing to also bear in mind is that a lot of these things are my experiences. It's the way I've gone through things, and the whole Anim Dojo approach does come from martial arts, and obviously those of you who know me will know that I practiced Kung Fu or Jeet Kune Do, which is the style that Bruce Lee came up with, and there's a saying that I've been living with ever since I started taking that martial art, and it's to absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is essentially your own. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt, add to it what works for you, and don't look at it as me preaching. I'm just sharing my experience that hopefully could help some of you guys. So I was starting to feel really insecure about making this vlog, because I knew that the last one was good, and this second one had to be just as good or even better. So I didn't know what to do, and that was when I decided to go back and do something that I used to do in the past, which was to kind of stop caring about what people think, and I'll explain how I do that through a story that I'm going to share with you. So the main issue for me that I realized when it comes to not being happy with your own work is when you're seeking approval. So we all have that need inside of us for when we do something, for people to say, oh wow, that's so cool, that's awesome. And it doesn't just it's not just with our work, it's with everything. It's about being funny, it's about being constantly liked, and even if you don't want to be the center of attention, it's just about getting approval. It's just about feeling like you kind of fit in, or you belong, or your work is good enough. So it extends to everything, not just art. So I'll tell you a story about how I sort of came to that approach. So it was around 2009. I was working at a studio as an animator, and production ended, so I started working as a character designer for a show that ended up not really making it on TV. But I was working with a really great concept artist named Gerald Fitzgerald. He's a really good friend of mine, and he introduced me to digital painting. At that point, I got hooked. I was in love with digital painting. All of a sudden, I could make things just pop off screen. And it was sort of my hobby for the next couple of years. So I was animating as a job, but then I was doing digital painting for fun. And I had a DeviantArt page, and I used to post there quite frequently. I started gaining a following. I was on Instagram. I was like really getting so much attention from, I'm not saying crazy attention, but enough attention to make me pay attention, to focus on making sure I constantly upload stuff. But at some point I hit a wall, and I stopped enjoying my work, the digital painting work. I didn't really realize it at the time, but a lot of it was about me not being able to make that next wow painting that's gonna make my fans go, hey, wow, that's amazing. So I was really frustrated, and it became a chore. When I come back from work, spend some time with the family, and then I want to sit down to unwind, I'd start painting, but it wasn't enjoyable. It was so frustrating, and I used to not finish, delete, spend maybe an hour or two so frustrated with something and then getting rid of it. I would do my time-lapse recordings and get rid of those as well. And I don't remember exactly why, but there was this one day where I was getting ready to do that, and then I said, I'm not in the mood. I don't care about what my fans or my audience or whatever anyone will say. I just feel like drawing. I just want to draw something that I want to draw. So what I ended up doing was, I'm a huge fighting game fan, and Street Fighter obviously being one of the classic fighting games. I decided to just start painting Vega from Street Fighter, the cage fighter. I didn't try to mimic any style. I didn't try to do something so that my fans or anyone will say, wow, that's amazing. I just did it for myself, and I wasn't planning on posting it, but it turned out a lot better than I expected. So I did post it onto DeviantArt, and when I checked the next day, I had so many comments, and everyone was saying how they really liked it, and it looked really cool, and it kind of made me realize that, I felt confident again, but I kind of learned that when I do something for myself because I enjoy it, and not because I'm trying to seek approval, somehow that calmness causes me to do work for the art's sake, as opposed to trying to please someone, which is a very fine line between trying to do work that, if you're working in a company or you're at school and you need to get approved, that's one thing. But when there's this constant desire inside of you to get approval and to seek that kind of acknowledgement, it can stifle you, because you're no longer focused on the work, you're no longer enjoying it even. And that Vega painting even ended up in the Street Fighter 25th anniversary book. All these things that I would have never imagined, had I known the pressure of what it could be when I was doing it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So to bring it back to sort of what I went through now, I knew that if I wanted to do a video on seeking approval and being content with your work, that my approach needs to be similar. I need to pick something that I enjoy. So recently, I go through phases with different music styles. So recently I got into dark country. Yeah, it's a thing. So yeah, I said, let me do something with a Western feel to it, because I'll enjoy working on it. And I was, up until somewhere around this point here, I started to feel like, wait a minute, I've just dug myself a hole. This is getting a bit more complicated than I wanted it to be. I'm not going to be able to get this vlog in the amount of time I need it to be done in, and I was starting to get frustrated. Obviously, being an instructor at Anim Dojo, the pressure is quite high for me to make the animation almost as perfect as possible, because then, what's the point if I'm teaching and my animation isn't good? But I said to myself, just take a deep breath and just go take a break. And I did. I only came back when I was ready to tackle this with the right mindset. I'm still the same person, I still have the same skills, but it was my mindset. I said to myself, it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It doesn't matter if it has some mistakes, because I'm not spending weeks on this. I'm doing this in just like an hour or two. And another thing is, Anim Dojo is where we're always going to be honest. We're always going to be showing what real animation feels like to an animator who's, in a normal situation, working normal hours, trying to make work that looks good, but with reasonable schedules. So I said, I'm sure the students appreciate that it's not easy to expose someone's working method in such a way, whether it's live or recorded, because it shows mistakes, but we learn from our mistakes. And, I learn every single time I do a new scene that requires something new. I've never had to animate someone walking in with a sort of cowboy swagger. And it just felt refreshing to tackle it in this way that I did. But that's the biggest problem. We all want to be viewed as the star, the perfect, amazing animator, the A+ student, constantly seeking approval. I mean, it obviously doesn't help when our social media feeds are flooded with all this amazing work. You check on Facebook and then you see this really awesome new short film, or someone links an amazing 2D animation from like the golden days, and there is this over glorification of what other animators can do and what you should aspire to. I know that can be viewed as inspiration, but I also believe that we constantly look at ourselves as not having reached the level that we want, and then we get frustrated, so we don't enjoy the work. And if you don't enjoy the work, then why are you doing it? We're not doing animation for the money. We're doing it because at some point we were so inspired that we wanted to get into this field. And if you're studying or if you're working, you're in this field now. You're not going to enter it, you're already in it. So it's this constant comparison to these greats that will make you feel that feeling of a frustration of wanting to get approval, to be better and constantly being amazing. So it's very similar to those who compare themselves to people on Facebook who are always on holiday, and you're seeing their highlight reel of their life. It's the same thing. You're seeing someone's highlight of animation. At some point you will have that shot that's amazing, and it's gonna be highlighted, maybe not in such a dramatic way, but you can't compare your everyday work to that one amazing shot that took 15 people to do over the course of a couple of months at some amazing feature studio, or doesn't matter. The bulk of the work that those people do is going to be similar to the bulk of the work that you do as well. It's just that the circumstances for that particular shot makes it appear that that is the everyday way of them doing work. So don't do work because you're seeking approval. Yes, it matters to do good work, but good work comes naturally when you let go of that desire. Once you let go of this desire to get approval, to get, someone to say, wow, that's amazing, you can focus on the scene at hand and you can enjoy it. It also, it doesn't hurt to add something that is specifically your own. So, going back to that quote, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. You can make your animation stand out by making it personal. You can enjoy it more, and even if it's not that, polished, it will show in your animation. One thing that I can't, iterate enough is the amount of times you'd see on someone's showreel, a walk cycle, a bouncing ball, a heavy push-pull dialogue shot. There's, they never end. But, when you add something that's your own, it's something that no one else would be able to do, because no one else can be you. No one else is you. So I'll give you an example. My very first showreel, my student showreel, I had a stand-up comedy segment. I was really into stand-up comedy at the time, so I just animated that. I also animated a few martial art moves. I animated a ninja. Who doesn't like ninjas? I didn't have a walk cycle. I didn't have a standard dialogue piece. I didn't have a heavy push-pull. I had some guy just run and ram into a box, and the box sort of gets pushed and shows how heavy it is. I just did things that I enjoyed to do, things that related to my background. I brought in my martial arts. I brought in my love of stand-up comedy, and just like today with this time lapse, I brought in my newfound, let's call it temporary infatuation with dark country music. So yeah, if you're into skateboarding, animate that. Get someone, practice body mechanics that way. If you're into parkour, practice body mechanics that way. You don't have to do the standard stuff that you see in recommended actions. If you're into comedy, do that. If you're into drama, animate that. Basically, add your own flavor to it. And when you do that, what you're going to find is that even as we're talking right now, we sort of drifted so far away from the concept of seeking approval, because we're focused on something we're passionate about. You're focused on something that you enjoy, and that will free you to stop worrying. And it was at that point where I started to feel free again when I was doing this video. I felt, what? I'm just animating this because I want to animate this, because it's fun. There's no deep story behind it. She just walks in and looks right, left, and then aims. And I just wanted something that looks fun and dynamic. And I ended up enjoying it, and I was pretty pleased with the final outcome. So, you need to tell yourself before you start working on something, I'm gonna give this my best shot. And I'm not gonna do it because I'm trying to impress other artists or other animators. I'm doing this because I'm a passionate animator, I'm a passionate artist, I enjoy what I do, and I'm gonna give this a genuine attempt using what I believe is gonna be the best skill that I have. Now, we're so used to getting critiqued, right? Everybody's on some level getting critiqued, whether you're studying or whether you're working in a studio. You know, that's how it works. You know, you get feedback. People tell you, can you change this? Can you change that? So that doesn't work. And I know that it's a big part of the process, but it doesn't hurt. You know, if you're in a position of this might not relate to some of you, but if you're in a position of, you know, power, if you're a teacher, you know, it doesn't hurt to give positive feedback from time to time. You know, a lot of times when I was directing, so, you know, I didn't have anything to add because the work was perfect to a certain extent. I mean, we can always say something is perfect, but that's all, you know, subjective. I would say it was good enough to pass for me. And I know that some people find it hard. They need to like say, but I have to say something. Otherwise, what's the point? This is my job. Sometimes I don't say anything. I just say good work. You know, there's nothing wrong with just telling someone that their work is good, if it's good. So I would say to really enjoy what you're doing, to simplify it and bring it all back to just a few key points. Just as you start, just remember that you're not trying to please anybody, right? Make it something that you can be passionate about. You know, even if you're working in a production and you have no control over what you need to do, you know, there's still some way you can bring in what makes you passionate again. And if you're a student, you know, use this time to explore what inspires you. You know, bring in elements of your own life into it. Make it personal. Don't just stick to the standard expectations of what a student should be doing. You know, yes, it matters to get work that employers will want to see, but we've all seen it before. We've seen everything before. You know, if you want to really impress someone as an employer for a job, don't make that your focus. Make the focus about you. Make it about wanting to do something you enjoy. So to end this, I just wanted to say thanks for all the great comments, all the messages you guys have been sending. If you have any ideas about stuff that you want me to cover, just message me, write a comment, and don't forget to check us out at animdojo.com, where the focus is always going to be on you, and we're always going to give it to you honest and let you be at the forefront of why we're doing this. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you real soon, guys. Good luck, happy animating.